I'm about to show you my Python code for the Lo Shu Square, my final project for CST 140. Okay, over to the left is my code. Over to the right is where it's going to display whenever I run it. But first, we're going to go through the code so I can explain what each thing does. So first, I did import random. And the reason I used that was because whenever the user asks the computer to make the number selection for them, that's the only way I can get random numbers to appear. So that's needed. And then after that, I use the matplotlib code, so then I can get a graph of their wins and losses. And you also have to have that or the graph won't show up and the code will not work. I decided to use two global variables to keep up with the wins and losses. They're right here. I did that so then every time they play, it'll keep track, and so then the graph will be accurate and the scoreboard will be accurate. And then after that, I used the main function, which it's basically like putting everything that you made into one program, like combines everything together. And I had to let the program know that I want the win and lose variables to be used in this function. So I put global win and global lose. And then the very next thing after the main function is called, I want it to call the menu function. The menu function on my program is directions on how to play the game. So when you open the program, the menu will pop up. It'll say Lo Shu Square game, and then it tells them how to play. It'll say numbers 1 through 9 need to be arranged into a 3x3 square. Each number cannot be used more than once. If the sum of each individual row equals 15, the sum of each individual column equals 15, and the sum of both diagonals equals 15, then you win. If they do not equal 15, you lose. And then it tells you what options you can play. There's option 1, which is called you play, where you pick the order you want the numbers 1 through 9 to be arranged. And then the first 3 numbers that the person picks, it goes in the top row. So it's the first 3 numbers from left to right. And then the next 3 that they pick, it's the left to right that load on the screen. And then the last 3, it's the bottom row in the order that they put the numbers into the computer. And then option 2, it's simple. It's computer play. The computer just randomly arranges the numbers for them, and it decides whether it won if it equals 15 in the range column and diagonals. Okay, so back up to here. So after it shows you the menu, it'll have the scoreboard pop up, which when you first start the program, it's going to be 0. It's even going to show the graph, and it's going to be 0. But that'll change once you play the game. And right here is where I'm asking the user to, pick what option they'd like to do, option 1, option 2. And then I also added where, like, if they enter 0, it'll take them back to the main menu, and it'll also restart the scoreboard. So if they, want a fresh slate, that'll take them back to that. And then if they want to quit, they press 9, and it'll, end the program. So right here is where if they entered option 1, we'll press 1. It will load the option 1 function, which it is right here. So whenever they press 1, it'll start loading all this. It'll tell the program that we're going to be using the global wins and loses. And the default list for the Lo Shu Square is all zeros until they input their information. I have it set up to where it's asking them for one number at a time, 9 times. So this right here will let them know what number that they're entering in. So it says integer input, enter your, and then it'll take whatever's from that number list and put it in between there. So it'll say, enter your first number, enter your second number, and so on. So that way they'll know how many numbers they have left and how many numbers they entered. If they enter something wrong, this message will appear to say error, that number is not available, start over. And the criteria for them to be wrong or right is if they enter a number that's less than 1, it'll print that error message. And this is what tells it to print that error message. If they choose a number that's greater than 9, it'll print the error message. Right here's the criteria for that. And every time that they enter it wrong, it starts back from the beginning. It doesn't restart their scoreboard, but it does make them start back from entering number 1 to 9. If they try to use a number that they've already used, it will enter an error code that says error number has already been used, start over. So then it'll take them back to where they have to enter 1 through 9 again. But it should not restart the scoreboard. But if they enter everything right, it'll go to the else statement. It'll put the user input and put it in the empty graph. I mean, it's not empty graph, empty list. And after it puts that information into the empty list, it then puts it into the Lo Shu Square list. And I'll explain in a minute why it has to be put into the Lo Shu Square list instead of just kept in the user input. And then after that, we have index +1, and that's so that it'll be able to go on to the next number to be able to ask them for the next number. This print functions, they display what their square would look like in order. So then they can, if they wanted to, they could be able to visualize it, add it themselves if they want to. Okay, so here, this is where the Lo Shu Square list is important. It says right here, if calculate Lo Shu magic square, and then it has this information. So it's telling me that it's using the information from the Lo Shu magic square to be able to use the calculate function. And the calculate function is right here. So what it does is it takes the information from the Lo Shu Square list up in option 1, and it plugs in all the list information into each space. And then it does, if it says to add each row, to add each column, and then it says to add the diagonals. And after it does that, if each of those rows, columns, diagonals each equal 15, right here, it will return true, which means that it is a magic square. If they don't return true, it returns false, obviously, and it is not a magic square. So let's go back up to option 1. Okay, so it does the it does the calculation, and if they entered all the information correctly, it prints you win. This is a Lo Shu magic square. and then it also adds 1 to the scoreboard and to the graph. But if it's not a magic square, which means if it was false, it prints better luck next time. This is not a Lo Shu magic square. Okay, and then it also adds 1 to the lose and on the scoreboard, and it adds lose of 1 to the graph. And then there's an exception at the very bottom. So if they try to enter a letter instead of a number, it'll give them an error message and make them start back at the beginning of 1 through 9 without restarting the scoreboard. It says error input must be integers. Please start over. Okay, and now we have option 2. That's where the computer plays. So we have to use the global win and global lose again. And that lets me, that's so we can add the wins and loses together. First, we let the computer know that there's only going to be a range of 1 to 9. Well, 1 to 10, but that means 9 numbers. And the random shuffle, it makes sure that it picks numbers 1 through 9, and it doesn't reuse any of the numbers because you can't in this game. So after it picks all the random numbers, it puts them all in the Lo Shu magic square because we need that for the calculate function. Then it will print the Lo Shu square that it made, so you can see what numbers it picked and where it put them. And then it puts all that information into the calculate function. It calls that function. And if it returns true, it once again prints, yay, you win. This is a Lo Shu magic square. And it adds win to the scoreboard and adds a win to the graph. But if it's not a Lo Shu magic square, it goes to else. It says better luck next time. This is not a Lo Shu magic square, and it adds a loss to the graph and the scoreboard. Okay, and then down here we have the graph function right here. That is so then every time the person plays, the graph will pop up and let them know, how many wins they have and how many losses. It'll show them what it looks like. And then there's also a scoreboard on the code. So then if they don't want to look at it, they don't have to. So then it'll just show them a visualization of how they're doing. So you got to let them know that you're using the information from the global win and global lose variables. And so the the left edges will let you know, basically, how far the graph is wide. And then the heights, it changes because every time you win or lose, the graph gets, higher. So that one changes with every new play. The bar width, it's so then like how wide each bar is. And right here where it says color, I picked color K and color R. Color K is black, which the reason I use that is because like in financial stuff, black means that you're like, in the clear, you're good, profiting. And then I use red for losses because, that's not good. It means that you're like not doing well. I also added a title to my graph that says wins with an arrow pointing to the left and losses with the arrow pointing to the right. So then you'll know which graph is what in case the color thing doesn't make that clear. And then this plt.show will show the graph. Without it, it will not. And then after all that, you would call the main function and it will make all of this code work. Yeah, so I forgot to mention that if they press, okay, so if they enter 2 when it asks them what option, it'll call the option 2 function. That's when it'll load all the information that I told you about option 2, where the computer picks random numbers for them. And then option 0, which is you just enter 0. It resets the wins and losses to 0. The graph will go back to 0. And it will display the menu again in case it's a new person playing and they need to know how to play. But if you're just completely done playing, you will enter 9 and it'll just end the program. Now, if they enter an option that's not available, it'll say error, invalid input, please try again. So it'll let them know, what do you want to enter, 1, 2, 0, or 9, and they need to pick one of those. And then if they try to enter a letter instead of a number, it'll throw an exception, and it'll let them know error, invalid input, please try again. And so it'll, ask them again, what do they want to do? So now we're going to go try out the code to see how it works. Okay, first it starts off with giving you the graph. There's nothing on it because you haven't played yet. So it's just blank. And in order for you to be able to enter your information, you exit out of it. And then down here, it wants you to enter a choice. We're going to go with option 1 first. So then we can enter the numbers ourselves. And I'll show you, what happens whenever it's a win, lose, Okay, so we entered choice 1, and once we enter the numbers, we'll go 1, enter 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so obviously that doesn't equal 15 on all the rows, columns, diagonal. So it's on the scoreboard right here. It says you lost and you did not get any points for winning. And it says better luck next time. This is not a Lo Shu Magic Square. And the graph displays 1 loss over on the right. Okay, so if you want to play again, you just exit out of the graph. You press, we're going to go with 1 again and then win this time. So you press 1, enter, and then we're going to do, we're going to do 4, enter, 9, enter, 2, enter, 3, 5, 7, 8, 1, 6. Okay, so it says that right here, it says we won, so it gave us 1, and then it also tracked the loss from the last time. And it says you win. This is a Lo Shu Magic Square, and it displays, what your square would look like. And so we have 1 win and 1 loss on the graph showing, so that's correct. So everything looks good there. Okay, and now we're going to go with option 1 again, but this time we're going to just enter something stupid. So it's saying first number. We're going to go with the letter H. And so it just displays, that that's what your graph still is, because you don't get a win or lose if you, enter the wrong information. So that all stays the same. And it says error input must be integers, start over, and it shows you what your score still is. And then it takes you back to asking you what choice you want to enter. So we're going to go with 1 again. We're going to go with 1 again. And it says enter our first number, so we're going to go with 5. And then we're going to say we want to do 5 again, even though we know that we can't repeat the numbers. And so it shows us that we still have 1 win and 1 loss on the graph. And it gives us an error message that says error number has already been used, start over, and then it gives you the scoreboard of 1 and 1 that you still have. Okay, so So that's the, if they messed up on any of that, that's what will happen. Okay, let's do 1 again. And let's say they enter 10. And it gives them an error message. It says that number is not available, start over, and then it gives you the same scoreboard of 1 and 1. Okay, and then one more time, option 1. And then we're gonna go with 0 for the first number. And then it says error, that number is not available, start over, and it gives you your scoreboard and your graph of 1 and 1 again. Okay, now we're gonna try out option 2. So what you do is press 2, and so then it runs it on its own. It gives you all the numbers that it picked. And if you add them all, they do not equal 15 for each row, column, and diagonal. And so it adds another loss to the loss side on the graph. So it means 2 losses, 1 win. And then the scoreboard over on the program, it says 1 win and 2 losses. And that's exactly what we want to see. Okay, and now that's exactly what's supposed to happen when you enter option 2. Okay, now we're going to enter 0. It should show me the menu again, and it should restart the the scoreboard and the graph. So 0. Okay, so the scoreboard over here, it says 0 and 0, and my graph has nothing on it. That's exactly what I wanted to do, and it displays all the directions again in case it's a new person playing. So that's what I want it to do. Okay, so that works, and then we're going to press, let's see, we're going to go with a letter, even though we should be entering 1, 2, 0, or 9. So we're going to go with S, enter, and it displays a blank graph because we haven't played anything yet. So that's correct. And then it says error, invalid input, please try again. And then it shows you, your scoreboard, which is 0 and 0 because you haven't played yet. And so then it asks you again, what choice you want to enter. So this time you decide you're going to enter 7, even though that's not available. So 7, enter. Still, nothing on the graph because you haven't played. So that's correct. It says error, invalid input, please try again. It gives you a scoreboard of 0 and 0. So that's all correct. Now let's make sure real quick that whenever you do have a play, so we played a random, well, we did choice 2. So we have 1 win, 1 lose, and the scoreboard says, 1 loss. And now let's make sure that that still shows up whenever we enter something wrong on the, when we're supposed to pick an option. So I'm gonna pick the letter T. Okay, so if you, put the wrong input, you don't lose your information, which is what you want it to do. So that's all correct. Okay, and so now you want to end the program. You want to, know who's going to play. It's basically like you exited out of the program. And you enter 9 because it says to quit. You enter 9, so you put 9 there, enter, and the program's done running. So everything works the way that it's supposed to. It all looks good to me. Let me know if there's something that you would change, because your input is appreciated. But thank you for watching. Have a good day.